The sound of my bedroom door slowly creaking open should have meant another ordinary evening. Instead, it became the moment that shattered every wall I had spent 3 lonely years building around my heart. Standing just outside the doorway was my ex-wife's younger sister, Rachel. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her hands trembled as she clutched an old backpack, and the brave smile she tried to force disappeared. The second our eyes met, in that silent moment, I realized that whatever had brought her to my home in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, had already broken her long before she knocked. If you believe kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances still have a place in this world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue sharing stories that remind us humanity is never truly lost. 3 years earlier, my marriage to Rebecca had ended quietly. There had been no betrayal, no dramatic courtroom battle, and no screaming matches. We had simply become strangers living beneath the same roof, until one day we admitted that love alone could not fix what silence had damaged. After the divorce, I moved into a small house, focused on my job as a landscape designer, and accepted that some chapters were never meant to be reopened. I hadn't spoken to Rebecca in almost 2 years, and Rachel had always stayed out of our separation, respecting both of us enough not to choose sides. Seeing her standing outside my bedroom instead of at the front entrance confused me until she explained that the back door had been left unlocked while I was carrying laundry upstairs. She had entered only because she had been knocking for several minutes without hearing me. Even then, she looked embarrassed, as though crossing that doorway had violated an invisible boundary she desperately wished she hadn't needed to cross. Rachel looked exhausted in a way that sleep alone could never cure. She carried the weight of someone who had spent months pretending everything was fine until pretending became impossible. She finally admitted that their mother had suffered a serious illness earlier that year. Medical bills had overwhelmed the family, and everyone had been trying to protect everyone else from the truth. Rebecca had quietly sold nearly everything she owned to keep their mother comfortable during treatment. Rachel had left college to work 2 jobs, but even that wasn't enough. Their mother had thankfully recovered, yet the financial damage remained, and now Rebecca herself was struggling more than anyone realized. The hardest part wasn't hearing about money. It was learning that pride had convinced Rebecca to suffer alone, because she believed she had no right to ask me for help after the divorce. Rachel confessed she couldn't watch her sister lose hope any longer. She hadn't come asking for money. She had come asking for compassion, from the one person she still believed understood Rebecca's heart better than anyone else ever could. That night I couldn't sleep. Memories filled every room of the house. I remembered holidays, shared dreams, unfinished conversations, and countless ordinary moments that had once seemed insignificant. I realized something painful. Divorce had ended our marriage, but it had never erased the years we had spent helping each other become better people. Kindness should never have an expiration date. The following morning, I quietly reached out. I expected awkwardness. I expected resentment. Instead, I found someone carrying invisible burdens so heavy that simply hearing another familiar voice almost brought her to tears. There were no dramatic reunions or impossible promises. There was only honesty. She admitted she had been ashamed to let anyone see how difficult life had become. I admitted I had mistaken distance for healing when it had really been avoidance. Over the following months, I helped in small ways that preserved everyone's dignity. I connected Rebecca with a nonprofit that specialized in financial counseling, introduced her to a local employer looking for experienced office managers, and spent weekends repairing her aging house instead of hiring contractors she couldn't afford. Rachel eventually returned to college with a scholarship arranged through a community foundation I had discovered while searching for resources. None of it happened overnight, and none of it erased the past, but little by little hope returned where fear had once lived. One crisp autumn afternoon, we all gathered at their mother's modest home for the first family dinner in years. There was laughter again, not forced laughter, but the kind that arrives after surviving storms together. Looking around that dining table, I understood something I had never fully appreciated before. Forgiveness isn't always about restoring old relationships. Sometimes, it's about refusing to let yesterday prevent you from doing what is right today. Before this story comes to an end, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about a time when someone showed you unexpected kindness or gave you a second chance when you needed it most. Your story may become the encouragement someone else is searching for today. As I drove home that evening beneath the golden colors of the Iowa sky, I didn't feel like someone who had recovered a lost marriage. I felt like someone who had rediscovered a forgotten part of his own heart. Rachel's tearful visit hadn't reopened an old wound. It had reminded me that compassion is strongest when it's offered without expecting anything in return. Sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't that broken relationships become what they once were. It's that broken people discover they still have the power to lift each other up, proving that hope can quietly walk back into our lives through a door we never expected to open. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you that forgiveness can change lives in unexpected ways, please support the channel by liking this video, sharing it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribing so we can continue bringing you heartfelt stories filled with hope, faith, and compassion.